your treatment facilitated her vision of her loved one, her letting go of the grief. And I think part of that is knowing that they haven't actually disappeared from your life, but they're in another place, and they're safe and they're well, and they just want to know that you're okay. So sometimes they hang on.
That's right, and that keeps the client tied up with their grief. I can tell you a lot of very, very interesting case histories. I mean, it's not just one or two. I've worked with lots of people with this situation. A young man who had lost his brother by tragic means, and suddenly and totally unexpectedly 2 years before. And I met up with him at the airport. He was running the convenience store, and I was there waiting for a friend very, very late at night, and wandered into the store, and he asked me actually questions about my pentacle, and he thought that I was a witch, and I said, no, I'm not a Wiccan, and I explained to him from a sacred geometry point of view the reason why I wear it. And then he asked me a lot of other things, and I said, oh, come on, and I said, give me a hand and I'll give you a quick demo. And he put his hands in mine, and I just opened up and channeled, and the pain doubled me over. The emotional and physical pain of this young man just threw me right out. And I only did it for a few minutes, and I stood up and I looked him in the eyes and I said, what is a nice young man like you doing, carrying all this emotional, physical pain? And he was just startled. He couldn't believe it. And I talked to him about the pain in his foot. And I said, and a huge loss. I said, what's happened to you? And so I gave him a card, and he came to see me a week later. And once again, his departed brother came straight in immediately. Straight away. And it happens every time. A lady here, again a professional woman, and she lost her son in the floods. And it was 6 months after the floods. Everybody, all the people that worked with her knew who I was. And they kept on trying to get her to come and talk to me, but she was way, way too logical. This lady's a vet. And eventually I had an animal in there, and I talked her into it. I said, look, come on up. And it was amazing, because everything I knew about this situation with the loss of the boy, I had read in the paper. And I didn't know the fine details. And in he came. He died about a week before his 11th birthday, I think it was. And as soon as he came in, and of course I'm an empath, so I feel the pain in the body straight away, and this lady had dislocated her shoulder during this incident. They all got washed into the river with a flash flood, and she had hurt her arm quite badly, and I didn't know anything about that, and so I had a lot of work to do on myself. It was one of the hardest I had to do, because I had to grit my teeth to stop myself from screaming while I was doing this treatment.
So you felt her dislocated shoulder?
Not only this dislocated shoulder, but the grief and everything comes through me. As it's being released, it comes through me. So
Has that gotten better over time in terms of you not feeling the intensity of the pain for as long?
No, what has happened is I've learnt the skills to dissipate it quicker.
Right.
So once it starts, sometimes it's so bad I think I'm not going to do it, but I can just keep on doing disbursements, and it eases and eases and eases. And also I have found that since I have been working with the indigenous spirits of this hill, if I'm in a situation like that, where it's really bad, I can just call them immediately. One of them has given me the honour of his name, so I can call him in immediately, and I notice that when that happens, the pain stops like that. So they are backing me every inch of the way, and that's a very humbling experience too. I feel very honoured because this hill apparently was the hill of the sacred toolmakers, so here I am, a sacred toolmaker, and I'm here, and they're backing me every inch of the way.
So does your son come through every time with these treatments, or is it just the bereaved person's loved one?
It's usually the first treatment, always. There's one situation that I'm working on at the present moment where this lady lost her daughter, and that lady is grandmother, the two children that were orphaned, one not orphaned, the father's still alive. She's had a dreadful time. She's been seriously in grief, to the point of being suicidal at times, and she experienced that for 14 months. Now, when I had her on the table, I also knew her and her daughter before the accident. When I got her on the table, and I called in her daughter and I called in Andrew, they both came, and it was universally decided that the daughter wouldn't go at this point of time. She would stay until an issue associated with access that my client has with her grandchildren is resolved. At the present moment, she isn't allowed to see her grandchildren, and not for any other reason except, well, she was in deep grief, and now it's time for her son-in-law to realise that the children need this woman in her. There's a real need between them.
So the mother stayed around to help with that issue.
She's staying around to help with that issue, and I am still working with this client, and so that but now I've noticed that Andrew doesn't come. It's the daughter, the spirit of the daughter, and my client and I, and we're not only working on my client and helping her, we're also working on the energy which is fractured between her and her grandchildren, so that she has quality time with her grandchildren. And so the spirit of the mother is actually assisting us in that.
Okay. So what about your son's role? Like, he's on the other side. Have you had conversations with him about what's his role in this, in the healing? Does he work with the
spirit? The spirit. Yeah. He talks the spirit into wanting to go, and the importance of going, and the fact that they're not going to be leaving their loved ones behind. Because of our limited view of death, most of us are very confused about what's happening on the other side. You know, like you look at just about everybody, and unless you're an evolved soul yourself, you have no idea. I thought about the role that Andrew played in my life, and I realised that he was like a cue ball that shunted me away from the direction that I was heading in. I was going to be a senior lecturer in art at university. I was in the third year of a 4-year degree when I lost Andrew. And I realised that him being in my life taught me everything I know about metaphysics. It got me interested. It sent me in the right direction. There were so many questions that couldn't be answered that were, for a logical thinker, mind-boggling, scary, throw you right out of your tree. I realised that I had gifts that I had no idea were even possible. Completely no idea. At some stage in my karmic past, I have been very, very powerful, but I have lost my way. So this higher being has come into my life, and was in my life for that period of time to shunt me in the right direction. I think these are ascended master, higher souls, ones who have already been through their incarnational cycle. There is no need for them to come back. They don't need to learn any more lessons. But they have taken on a voluntary role of coming back into this lifetime specifically to enable those of us who have lost our path to regain it and head where we're supposed to be and regain our lost talents. Many of them come as teachers, and there are many, many teachers coming onto the planet right now, so pay attention to them.
Listen to the children, folks.
Listen to the children, exactly. Listen to the children, they can teach you a lot.
Well, I think also the elders have a lot to offer us too, because a lot of people don't realise that the wisdom gained by the time somebody's, you know...
I love being an elder. I love the headspace. It's just the body thing that sucks.
So, Penny, grief recovery is how you got into this, you know, extraordinary gift of yours of healing that you share with others and help them through. Are there any other kinds of treatment that you have developed since your beginnings?
Oh, absolutely. And I don't know about developed. I think these things are things that I have had without realising it. Trauma is one. I find I've had a few clients that have had traumatic situations, not so from grief, but from being involved in car accidents. And one of the things I find is that we really don't know how to treat shock, not efficiently. When that happens, when I have the client on the table, I go through exactly what they experienced, and I can release shock in one treatment. I re-experience through their eyes exactly what they went through.
So when someone's suffering from shock, how does that affect their life, that if they can't release that shock?
One particular lady, when I said to her, I explained exactly what I saw. Now this was 9 months after the accident, and she had smashed the bones in her hand. She had about 4 or 5 breaks as the steering wheel came around and smashed the back of her hand. It hadn't healed, and she was going up to get pins in the bones, and so she'd come to me as a last-ditch attempt. Somebody had told her that I could do this sort of thing, because I don't advertise. And she turned up here about 3 days before she was due to go and have this operation. And I sat her in a chair. At that stage I didn't even have a table I was still learning all of this. And so I worked on her hand, and I saw everything that happened. Afterwards I related it back to her, and she said every time she closed her eyes, every time she tried to go to sleep, she would go through the whole scenario in her mind. She would, as she started to fall asleep, the replay of the events go over and over and over in her head.
So it's like people get stuck on the rinse and repeat cycle.
It's stuck in the cells of their body. The thing that was amazing with her, as soon as I said it, she was saying, that was incredible. You know, they go into a very, very deep vision state themselves, and she went into a relaxed state. And that was the first spontaneous healing of bones that I did, because her bones netted in 3 days.
Wow.
By the time she went up there to have the operation, the hand had healed.
That's incredible.
Yeah. That's what shock can do. It just slows down the physical healing. It stops it entirely until you can release the shock from the cells of the body. Then it's not going to heal. It's going to stay. It's going to be very slow to heal at very best.
So when you do that sort of treatment, does your son come in from the other side, or is
no?
Right. So that's for grief recovery.
Yeah, that's something else that I do.
Okay.
When I was going through my grief recovery, there was an extraordinary thing that happened, and I had this huge vision in which this huge ball of light came to me, and it came above my head, and my arms went up and held onto it, and then I was brought out of it, out of the meditative states, and I still had the ball of energy in my hands, and I didn't know what to do with it. I couldn't put it down. When I closed my eyes, I could see it, but when I opened my eyes, it wasn't there, but I could feel that it was there. I couldn't close my hands. I had this fizzing ball of white light in my hands, and it was stuck to me. And a voice came into my mind and said, give it away. And there was somebody else in the room, and I said, just put your hands in between mine. And straight away, as soon as they did, and all this energy went into them. Now when I do that sort of work, it's got nothing to do with Reiki or Sechem or Karunaki or any of the other things I'm trained in. What it is to do with is me remembering what it felt like to have that ball of energy in my hands. It's my old natural gift that I have had probably forever, through each incarnation, that I had forgotten about.